Face-to-face learning is being used by less schools each year due to the increase in technology. My name is Aden Arnette, and today I'll be sharing with you how both in-person learning and online learning can be effective. Education is important to me because growing up, I had two parents that were both educators. My generation was always used to going to class face-to-face, in person, and which took place in a classroom. With the recent advancements made in technology use in schooling has never been higher. So why the sudden urge to switch to online learning? Well, besides the global pandemic that's been happening for the last year, more schools have been using hybrid courses before in the last year than ever before. In my speech, I will cover pros and cons of face-to-face instruction, pros and cons of online learning, and then I'll also share from personal experience why both methods of learning can be effective. Before I begin, I want to preface with the fact that we have all been taught in both forms of learning. I believe that there's no wrong way to teach as long as students get something out of it and can learn from it. So let's begin with the pros and cons of face-to-face instruction. First of all, face-to-face instruction is the most traditional way of learning. You get actual human interaction out of it, which is a foreign concept for a lot of people nowadays, and it allows kids to develop social skills. BalanceGlobal.com states that when you are in a classroom, generally phones are on silent and learners aren't distracted by social media. And according to Balance Global, face-to-face instruction caters to all styles of learning, which would help keep grades up. In an article written by Sarah Banna, she says that instructed programs are the most effective. Let's move to the cons of face-to-face instruction. With face-to-face instruction, there is not a lot of flexibility throughout the day. All students have to commute, which then can lower attendance and it can make kids not want to show up and not want to go to school. There's not a ton of cons to face-to-face instruction. Those two are the main ones. I'd say the flexibility is a big thing. You know, teachers have a lesson plan and they have to go through it every day. Now that we've explored pros and cons of face-to-face instruction, let's look at online learning. Online learning has become relevant in the past 5 years. Multiple platforms that schools use instead of like paper tests, among other things like Canvas, Blackboard, which we use at the University of Arkansas, have rose and a lot of schools are using them nowadays. Some advantages of online learning include being easier for teachers, like for tests, examples would be lockdown browser. They don't have to watch their students during the test. In an article by Stephen Armstrong, he states that students have the chance to study in their own time. You know, they have the flexibility of their own day. Instead of going to school, they can do whatever they want throughout the day as long as they get their schoolwork done. While there are many advantages of online learning, there are also a lot of disadvantages. The biggest disadvantage to online learning would have to be cheating. Cheating is so easy on online learning. Students can link up if the test isn't proctored or on lockdown browser, and they can cheat on a test, on an assignment, on anything like that. And I'm not saying that I'm guilty of that, but I'm saying that it is super easy nowadays with the technology that we have. Accessibility is limited. And I have a statistic from usafacts.org that says the percent of students in households with no internet or computer access by income. And as you go down the income, you see that the accessibility is not as high. So for households with an income of less than $20,000, about 45% of those kids don't have internet access. In an article in the University of Illinois Springfield, it states that if facilitators are not properly trained in online delivery, the success of the online program will be compromised. For lower grade levels, it is also harder for kids to learn without actually seeing their teacher do something. And at the lower level, you need kids to be able to pick up those things for later grades. After looking at pros and cons of both styles of learning, I want to share some personal experience with both styles. First, face-to-face instruction. We all grew up with face-to-face instruction. In elementary school, we never used computers. That type of learning really hadn't been established yet. We were taking tests on paper, doing everything on paper, rocket math, all that stuff. For the elementary age, it is vital for kids to be in class and interacting with people. I loved going to class as a younger kid because I got to develop social skills, make friends in person instead of see their faces on a screen. And I just love talking to my teachers, my friends, getting to do stuff with him like going to recess and stuff like that. I love going to class, and I think the personal aspect of school is taken for granted. While we're all used to face-to-face instruction, going to online classes in this last spring was very weird, and it was a weird transition for everybody, including teachers. While online classes are nice, if you want to roll out of bed and go to class, it's hard to stay focused during online classes like public speaking at 9:40 a.m. on a Monday. Online classes could be the future of schooling, however, and schools throughout the world have already began the transition to start online classes. Also, accessibility. While it is hard for lower income families to get computers and stuff, schools have been providing kids that can't get their own laptop with computers, and so accessibility has never been higher for online learning, which is a great tool, and we can use Zoom and all that stuff. So why not switch to online school with higher accessibility now that we have this virus and stuff like that? Throughout my speech, I've talked about advantages and disadvantages of both online learning and in-person learning, as well as my personal experience with both. I chose to discuss this topic because education is something that I value, and I want others to value it as well. Both forms of learning are very good, and it's hard to put one on top of the other. The world is constantly evolving, and along with that evolution is the evolution of the education system, which is one of the most important things in the world. While the future of the education system is unknown, I know it is in good hands with our future teachers, whether it be in person or online.